Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is your second video of today, and this one is going to be focused on Alexei Shostakov. Yes, this is Red Guardian, and obviously this is going to be our next champion that's coming into Marvel Contest of Champions for May. And let's face it, I don't think any of us were really too surprised that Red Guardian would be the accompanying champion to go in with Black Widow, which, let's face it, with how everything was meant to go with the Black Widow movie, which if it did release on time on the 1st of May, would see David Harbour portray Alexei, and as well, obviously, the return of the role of Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. I know we probably kind of thought, I personally thought we'd see Yelena Belova Black Widow, but obviously it's got to be about giving some love to Scarlett Johansson, because she's done a fantastic job over the years of portraying Black Widow. And if you see my video earlier today, this whole kind of Red Guardian portrayal is going to be very different to comic books. Whereas the Red Guardian is meant to be more of a stronger individual, and obviously, well, previous marriage to Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. It's going to be a case he's more of a father figure and maybe helped out in the program in creating Black Widows of the past, or maybe there's some weird reason he has to be busted out of a prison. Either way, we'll find out more later on this year, and as well, we'll see how Kabam want to portray it, whether it's relationship-wise, previous marriage, in the upcoming story. And obviously all of that is relevant based on the fact, well, if you look at what's on IMDb, it's in case David Harbour does portray the Alexei Shostakov. God, if I can remember this kind of name pronounced correctly, we'll be winning, people, we'll be winning. But there are other versions, like it could be the Krasno Grantiski the Chivolakit. It could be another person that's Russian. That's, let's face it, from the screen that you can see at the moment. Now, the Alexei Shostakov version does actually interest me the most, and this is based on the fact that he had a stint of playing Ronin. So as we know from watching Avengers Endgame, that Clint Barton takes up the mantle. Obviously that's in the comic book history, but also in the MCU. Now I'd love to find out that there's some kind of tie into this, that maybe Hawkeye has some kind of place and time with what we'll find out is going to happen or has happened in Budapest. So there could be a tie in of like what happens in the future, maybe this Ronin stuff, which as well we might find out more in the Hawkeye TV series. So everything is coming together really nicely in all these kind of like story arcs and links in the MCU. And as well, let's kind of learn a bit more when it comes to the comic book history of Alexei Shostakov. Alexei was one of the Soviet Union's most acclaimed test pilots. Because of the extraordinary skill, Shostakov was chosen for the most secret and dangerous flight test for the Soviet Union. However, the Soviet state-controlled news media greatly publicized certain other missions of his, and Shostakov was decorated as a hero of the Soviet Union, and as well was also successful in his private life because he married Natasha Romanoff. That's a big thumbs up from a lot of people. Later on in his timeline, the KGB trained Alexei to become the second Red Guardian, a special costumed agent who was intended to be the Soviet Union's counterpart to Captain America. During the years of his training, Shostakov became cruel, a ruthless man, very different in personality from what he was when he was living with his wife. And the People's Republic of China developed a device called the Psychotron, which could induce mass hallucinations. This gave the Red Chinese a weapon which the United States, the Soviet Union, had no defense, letting them conquer one of these superpowers, eliminating it as rival and threat. So in a nutshell, Red Guardian seems to kind of embroiled himself with some weird stuff in his past, especially because obviously this came about with things like the arms race and the Cold War, and you know, different types of agendas between one nation and another nation. So yeah, it comes about some really weird times for Alexei, and as well the stuff that's going on in a worldwide aspect. Then later on, this whole kind of like weapon becomes more of a big deal, because he then comes in contact and fights the Avengers, and then obviously realizing that he's on the side of evil, decides obviously at a point of like, oh, I'm dying, after a confrontation with Captain America, sacrifices his life to kind of blow up some kind of establishment where this kind of proto weapon is. It's a bit of a weird one because he sacrifices himself, and then for some reason the KGB create a life model decoy of Alexei in order to well, you know, dupe Black Widow into returning. It's very weird. It's a very weird story. And then he seemingly returns back from the dead and becomes Ronin. So that happens. But it's a very cool thing. It's a very kind of cool twist. And it's something that I'd love to see a bit more of when it comes to the MCU and how this whole kind of like endgame version of the Hawkeye Ronin and maybe Alexei and David Harbour can have this kind of like further continuation and link into the story arcs of the MCU stuff as we know at the moment. So I think the biggest question that would probably on your lips after all that story-based stuff is what abilities we are likely to see. Now, at the point of recording this video, this is what's up. Obviously, if anything drops between now and me recording it, I will try and edit in if there's any kind of official abilities leak, but that'll have to be saved for another time. Either way, the only thing that can be really notable about this character is great amount of fighting skill, and that means that this champion will be a skill more than likely. The equipment's the only thing that really will have any kind of great interest. We're similar to a, well, what is deemed to be a disc, which has some kind of, is detached from the belt of Alexei, which again is kind of weird. It has magnets. Again, it's similar to Cap's shield, but obviously is a bit different in I don't think that it's made of vibranium. So that's something that goes in Cap's favor. But I think it's just going to be down to skill, throwing of the disc, not the shield, the disc. So we'll see how that pans out, but that seems to be the only thing notable about this character. And there we have it. That's been a little bit of comic book history, a little bit of origin, and a little bit of kind of movie talk as well. Slapped together in a nice little video. And as well, what are your thoughts on Red Guardian as a character in the future? Is something you'd look forward to? Put it down in a comment section down below. And how do you feel Kabam are going to like stack this together? Do you think they're going to have something that builds up strength and ferocity? Similar, obviously, to what we've seen in past with other champions and other characters. Put that down there as well. And thanks very much for watching this video. And check out the previous video and one of yesterday's video up on screen at the moment. If there is any Marvel Contest Champions news, I will post it. But I'll have a fresh, proper edition of it released tomorrow. Thanks again for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.